Welcome to the Bitch and Siblings Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Bitch and Siblings Podcast. I'm Ginny.
Hey, guys, it's Amy.
And today our topic, of course, is food. Anything and everything food. But before we get in...
Because we're fatties.
...to that... yeah, we're fatties, yeah. Amy, how was your week?
It was good. I had to get a new computer because while I was editing with Chris on Thursday, I think it was.
Is that why you guys sent that notes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was like, what the hell? Why are you sending me this?
So he was trying to teach me how to edit, and my computer just finally completely froze. So
yeah, yours froze a lot.
Yeah.
It really did.
So I'm hoping actually that, like, you know how every now and then, like, I will freeze on you and you're like, Amy froze. Yeah, I'm hoping that's actually going to be improved too.
Once you get a camera to work?
Well, yeah.
Back to today's topic is food. And I had a hard time thinking of a topic because not that we've done a ton. I mean, we're only on like episode 23, 24, 25, but it's getting hard to find different topics that are interesting to both of us, as well as what might be interesting for other listeners, not just us. Us sitting here randomly talking about dumb shit. So, I'm going to be the first one to say that, like, I will generally try just about everything. There's a few things I won't. But what about you, Amy? What are your thoughts on just like food in general? Why are we fatties? Let's just put it like that.
Because we fucking will try anything.
And I love carbs. All the carbs.
Absolutely.
Bread, rice, pasta, muffins, biscuits, scones, carbs. Yeah. All the way.
Yep.
I will cut out alcohol. I will cut out sugar. I will cut out salt. But fuck if I will cut out carbs.
Yeah. That's like I tried to reduce my carb intake for a while, and I was like, this is stupid. I'm getting hangry.
I did it one time, and it takes, so they say that it takes 21 days to break a habit, about 3 weeks, right?
Which,
so
by the way, I call bullshit. Because I can do something straight for 6 months, and the minute that I stop doing it one day, I completely stopped doing it.
I think when they say 3 weeks is that it becomes a little bit easier. Within that first 3 weeks, it's definitely your body going through some form of withdrawal, whether it be a psychological or like an actual thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that we can't break those bad habits. But I did it one time because, back when I was 118 pounds, I wasn't skinny enough. So I needed to get skinnier, apparently. And for all of you who don't know, I'm 5'2". And I thought I was fat when I was a size like 2 to 4. It's this ridiculous thing us women have on us. I'm not going to say what size I am now, but I'm not anywhere close to a 2 or a 4.
Yeah. Yeah, neither
But anyways, I tried cutting out carbs because I was like, at that point, I was like, I said it was 118 to 122-ish, give or take. And like, I'm not a huge sugar person. Like I said, I'd rather have salty than sweet. I obviously like to have a drink here and then, but I certainly didn't drink a ton. More so in the summer, just because that's just. And so, like, obviously, we were out at the lake almost every weekend, so it's just whatever. But I felt like I wasn't thin enough then, and I had already cut out sugar, and I wasn't drinking pop, and like I'm out doing athletic crap all the time. I was running all the time, so I thought, I'm going to cut out carbs because it's the only other thing I can cut out besides starving myself. Like, legitimately, like, I can find other things to eat and still stay full. Because, like, I didn't want to starve myself. I'm not an anorexic or a bulimic. I'm not judging anybody who is, but I love food too much to be anorexic, and I hate throwing up enough
that you can't be bulimic.
So I will just cut foods out of my diet. I cut carbs out. I'm not shitting you, for a whole goddamn month. I was fucking hungry all day, every day.
Yeah.
Hungry. It did not matter how much I ate. I was fucking starving. My stomach made noises. This wasn't like me just like psychologically going, oh, I'm hungry. Like my stomach was literally like turning over and making those noises that you hear when you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. I also found out There are so many more fucking things that have carbs in it that you don't even think about, that I was like, I'm sorry. I especially in the summer, I cannot cut out fruit. I can't.
That's when I decided to cut out complex carbs.
Okay.
So those are your breads, your rices, your pasta. Because you're right, there's carbs in everything. There's carbs in fruit. There's carbs in vegetables. There's carbs in drinks. It's in everything. Complex carbs, as in, like I said, rice. And if I did eat something that was like rice or bread or whatever, it was a whole wheat or a high fiber.
Yeah. So your
bread.
net carbs was lower.
Right. So that I was eating more fibrous things so that when I did eat it, I stayed full longer as opposed to just white rice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which I will eat like it's going out of style.
See, and I mean, I like white rice, but I like fried rice better.
I like fried rice, don't get me wrong. But I love white rice because you can do so much with it.
I
you
mean,
can change the flavor of it depending on what you put it with.
This is
and
true.
That's why I like it, because it takes on, to me, it's very reminiscent of tofu. If you cook it with the correct things, it takes on the flavor of what you're cooking. Therefore, it just accentuates and adds more dimension and stuff to what you're cooking.
I mean, this is true. I do remember
when I want Chinese food, I will get fried rice.
Yeah, yeah. Like when I was growing up, when we were like when grandma would make white rice for dinner, if there was quite a bit extra, we would have that like with our dessert. We'd put a little milk in it and then some
That's that rice pudding shit we talked about last weekend. No.
It wasn't rice pudding. It was literally we just had rice.
Milk and sugar.
No, we didn't do sugar. We did cinnamon.
Okay, sugar and cinnamon, yeah. Or nutmeg or like, yeah.
But like we didn't put bread with it. We didn't like make it a mush. We just literally it was more like a cereal.
That's rice pudding though. That's disgusting.
Whatever. Anyways, yeah. But we did that. I mean, because that was another thing too, was, grandma was raising us on what she made, which wasn't much.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, Aunt Sunday, yeah, she made decent money, but that's still.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I remember when I was first adopted, one of the first things Mom ever made me, and this is really telling you how motherfucking poor we were, that she would make, I don't even know what else she made with it. Because the only thing I remember is because my mom was a teacher, so we'd get home late. And we worked she worked about 45 minutes away from where we lived. And we had to drive across the bridge. Mm-hmm. And that traffic was fucking nuts. So we wouldn't get home sometimes until like 6:37.
Yeah.
She taught at the same school that I went to, which was nice. Because then when she was
Puyallup?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Hunt Elementary in Puyallup.
That's what I
and
thought,
like, so afterwards when she was doing like her, grading or whatever, I would do like, I'd play around or whatever, and which is fine. But when you get home, you got to make a quick meal, but you got to feed people. And I don't know what it is to this day. It does not matter what you put in front of me. If you put this in front of me, it will be my first choice every motherfucking time. Egg noodles with butter and Parmesan. Buttered noodles, but it has to be egg noodles with Parmesan. And she would make that for dinner. And I know there was other shit on the plate. Amy, I couldn't tell you what it was.
Okay, so
because that is all I ate, and I loved it. Like, I thought I was a queen eating this because that's how poor we used to be.
Yeah. No, It was a shock to my system when we moved in with grandma, because we like fresh fruits and vegetables all the fucking time, straight out of the garden.
And no joke, grandma was not worried about any sort of health or calorie or carb count or anything.
Nope. She was
grandma was your typical boomer grandma.
No. Grandma was Silent Gen.
Well, Silent Gen, sorry.
Yeah, so like she
just cooked with all the lard and fat and everything.
But she also knew how to make things like stretch, because she also technically grew up in the Depression.
Yep.
And
yeah, because what year was she born?
37.
Okay.
Yeah, she was born in 37. Because I had to look it up, and I was like, wait, was grandma a boomer? And I looked at the cutoffs, and I'm like, oh no, grandma was a Silent Gen.
But see, technically, I am a millennial, but I don't believe that I'm a millennial.
Same.
I'm part of the generation prior to being a millennial,
which is X.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Generation X ends in like 1980 or something. And that's no. Yeah. And no, I'm Generation X. I am not a millennial.
I feel the same way. And I think mine is more because of who I was raised by. Because
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
Because she raised generation, not X. What's the one before X?
Boomers.
They weren't boomers.
Yes.
Were our aunts and uncles boomers?
Yep. Our aunts and uncles are boomers.
Oh, yeah, because,
They were-
boomers and then Generation X and then millennials. Yeah,
Actually,
you're
I think
right.
our youngest aunt might be an X.
The very beginning. But I'm,
Yeah.
like, on the cusp.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't feel like I fit. So I feel like Grandma probably fits somewhere in between the silent and boomer. Very end of silent, beginning of boomer. Because she definitely has some boomer characteristics.
She did, absolutely. But then again, she was also raised by her grandparents.
Yes.
So-
not her mom.
Yeah.
So she was definitely raised by the
2
Mhm.
generations before her. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
I-
So that makes sense. But Grandma could cook.
oh, yes.
Grandma and I did not have a great relationship, but I'll tell you, nothing she cooked I'd say no to.
With the exception of the liver and onions.
Yeah, because that's just fucking nasty. I don't care who you are. I don't care who cooks it. You will never. That's one of those things where no. I've tried it.
Okay. But
Perfect example. I've tried lamb. I don't like lamb. I don't. I can't. I something about it I don't like. When we were in Israel last summer, lamb is very prominent. It's
Mhm.
more prominent than beef and chicken.
Mhm.
Especially beef. It's their red meat, so to speak. So they had osso buco at the wedding that we went to. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try it. Because one, it's been a couple of years. And two, if I'm going to try it, I'm going to try it in a country where that is like
their specialty.
one of the main, well, not necessarily a specialty, but it's like one of their main sources of meat. Like one of our main sources of meat is not lamb. It's
Beef.
It's steak and chicken and, and fish. So I tried and I still couldn't. Took a bite and I was like, it's got great flavor. I just couldn't. I don't like
so
it. It's
with,
gross.
With
so
lamb, is it a texture thing?
it's a texture and taste.
Okay. And then what about the liver? Is it a texture and taste there as well?
It's a fucking taste. No, that's a taste. That's all a taste. The iron in that.
See, and maybe it's because I've always been like super deficient in iron that like it works for me because my body's like, you need this.
And anemia runs in our family.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised because everybody loved Grandma's liver and onions except for me, which is again another reason why I believe I am the mailman's child.
No. So, 2 of our aunts did not like liver and onions.
Oh, I can see that. Okay. Well, I mean, all I know is that I have not tried it since Grandma was living. So it's been, 16, 17, 18, 19 years. Good God, how long has it been since I've seen her? But it's just not something. Now, don't get me wrong.
If you were gonna like it though, it would have been heard.
I agree because Grandma cooked everything with a little extra, but I can't. I did not like it. I don't even know that I could get past the flavor enough to even know what the texture was.
See, and when I make it, my husband loves the smell. He can't do it because of the texture. So I have
See, the smell alone is disgusting, and then you eat it and it's like
I think
blood.
The funny thing is, I think it's because he likes it so much because of the onions and the smell of the onions to him.
Then make French onion soup.
Oh,
okay.
I've been like looking for a good recipe for that too, because Grandma made some
I should
killer.
ask Roger's parents because his dad loves French onion soup, and he has a good French onion soup recipe.
Okay,
so
well-
let me see if I can't get one from him.
Yeah, you're gonna need to because I remember Grandma making a killer French onion soup, and there are so many fucking things that she used to make
know.
that I didn't pay attention to that
Well,
she
and you
never
know what
had
I hate about
recipes
the
for.
That generation, I will say the thing I hate the most about that generation is that they never wrote shit down.
Right?
There was never recipes. It was literally just like, I remember when my grandma passed, my adopted grandma, the one I shared a birthday with, she had a really, really, really good homemade potato bread recipe.
Ooh.
Never wrote it down.
Of course not.
So after she passed, my mom and my aunt spent years trying to perfect. I mean, because she had a recipe that she wrote down towards the end that my mom and my aunt were like, write it down. But like, she didn't know measurements. She just wrote down what she put in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, that's like Monica trying to make the Nestle Toolhouse, you know?
Yes.
I mean, come on. Like, And that's the one big gripe I have with that generation is they literally just added things to their heart's content and didn't write a damn thing down.
So, no joke, after Grandma passed, while Sunday was still alive, I called her that summer and asked her, I was like, how do you make peach cobbler? And she just like stopped and she's like,
I don't know.
You just fucking make it. Like, she didn't say
Right?
fucking, but like, she's like, you just make it. Like, what do you mean? What's in it? It's peaches and a little bit of sugar and some cinnamon.
Yeah, but Grandma made like the most bomb ass homemade biscuits.
Yeah,
And she used to make chicken and dumplings too. And I'm pretty sure she used the same similar recipe for her dumplings that she did her biscuits.
I'm pretty positive. However,
because they had the same density, but obviously you cook them different. You know,
like the only thing that changed is as she got older, she stopped doing like the biscuits that you're talking about, and she went more toward the sour cream rolls.
Those were good too. Oh my gosh, do you remember the cream cheese coffee cake we had the morning of my wedding to douche canoe?
No.
So my grandma Joanne, who passed away recently, she was like, "What can I get you for your wedding gift?" And I didn't want anything because even now when I got married the second time around, people are like, "What do you want?" I don't need anything, but I was like, "Oh, I know what I want.
Especially since the fact that you were moving the next day."
I know, and so I was like, I want you to make me your homemade cream cheese coffee cake. I don't know what this woman put in her cheesecake, but it was like cream cheese towards the bottom and then coffee. And like cream cheese coffee cake does not sound appealing in any way whatsoever, but it was fucking fire.
Yeah.
Like I could eat a whole pan and not feel the slightest bit guilty about it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Grandma had this like frozen dessert thing that she used to make, and it was like mostly fruit. And I want to say there was cream cheese in it and stuff, like, and she'd mix it all together and then she'd freeze it. And it was like primarily like dark cherries.
I don't know if I remember that.
Oh, it was so fucking good. I can't even recall what was all in it to even try. Because I know Grandma kind of changed it up based on what was available as far as fruit goes.
Well, yeah. And that's purely from her generation. That's why they didn't write things down, because it was literally they just made what they had available.
Yeah.
Which is why they didn't write shit down.
However, I have this recipe that she had for, and the recipe itself is called huckleberry cake. Grandma never fucking used huckleberries. She used blueberries.
Didn't Grandma have huckleberries in her garden, though?
She had 2 very small bushes. They didn't produce much, but we had those 5 big-ass blueberry bushes in the backyard.
Yeah, Grandma had a shit ton of blueberries.
Yeah.
And sunflowers.
She had some.
I just remember the sunflowers and the blueberries, because the blueberries were near the creek.
The ditch? You almost called it a ditch.
The creek!
It was a fucking ditch.
Okay, so does Grandma, or do you have grandmas? Because I feel like I remember either towards the end or at some point, Grandma did have recipes for all of her Christmas candy.
Yes, I do. I have all those.
Okay, so like her toffee, her Heath, her peanut brittle.
Yep.
She had recipes for that.
Yes, she does.
But not the other stuff.
No, and I think she only had recipes for that because so many people asked for them. And with the candy, you did have to be a little more precise.
Stop the presses. The only peanut brittle that is worth shit
was Grandma's.
Is Grandma's peanut brittle. I do not like peanut brittle. It's too hard. But there is something about Grandma's peanut brittle that is, oh my gosh, it's on point. I don't know what it is.
So here's the other thing too, is I've also noticed that it's harder and harder to find some of the tools that they used, like a candy thermometer.
Yeah.
Like you have to legitimately do a specialty search for that. Like it's not just in Target or Walmart. Like, yeah. So, and the candy thermometer I had broke. So I can't make those candies until I get the candy thermometer.
And I've never had one because I've never made candies, because my youngest is obsessed with Christmas and baking, and he's always sending me videos of things he wants to try. So we have a bajillion recipes between the two of us.
Of course.
We've never done it. So, but I've gotten more confident with like, so I did really well with cooking for a while, and then I just tried baking, and I've gotten more confident with that. So now that I'm getting more confident with that, I feel like I'm about ready to start tackling making candy.
Okay.
Because that's a whole different ballgame.
Well, once you get the candy thermometer, I will get you the recipes for Grandma's candy.
Okay.
Because
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you need that.
Her peanut butter roll, brittle roll, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
And then I loved her O. Henry
I've had
bars.
2 of these, okay?
Is that the drink that you sent to our group chat? That looked good.
For anybody who's wondering, it's literally triple sec, tequila, lime juice. I put a little bit of simple syrup in it because I just got this hot honey today, so I haven't had a chance to make a hot honey simple syrup. But I put some hot honey in it and then some simple syrup, lime juice, tequila, and triple sec, and shook it up. And it is, oh my God. So I like spicy margaritas, but I hate it when they're so spicy you can't taste like the lime or the tequila or anything. And sometimes when you do jalapeno, it's just a bit too much.
Yeah.
This still allows you to taste like all of the lime, all of the tequila, but like the honey, it's just like a hot, oh my God, it's so subtle, but it's so perfect. Oh my God, it's so good.
I don't doubt that.
You have to try
I don't
it.
like
It's so
spicy
yummy.
stuff, but hot honey sounds good.
It's not spicy. It's just when you like swallow, it's just because a little tingle, and then it goes away.
Alcohol already gives you a little tingle.
But this is like a little tingle of like, when you like eat something that's spicy, but before you really actually taste the spice, like there's a little like itch in the back of your throat where you're like, oh, that's got a kick. And then you're like, whoa, it's that first little, oh, that's got a kick that you taste. And that's it.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't go deeper than that. Now, granted, I didn't put a ton of hot honey in it because I didn't know how hot it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want to like overdo it. So I'm sure I could make it spicier if I wanted, but either way, it's still sweet.
Yeah.
So, but anyways,
back to the food side.
Yeah.
What is your favorite way of cooking? Like, do you have a preference on like baking? Like, I'm talking like major, your main course, whether it be baked in the oven, on the stovetop, in a grill, in a crock pot.
Honestly, it depends on the time of year.
That's fair.
Because in the summer, and I'm sure you can appreciate this, it gets too hot to use the oven.
Absolutely.
The stove is okay because we don't have coils. We have a glass top. So it doesn't get as hot, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I can do that. Honestly, the last couple of nights, my husband and I, so we have olive oil, and then we have this spice that we got from Israel last summer. It's called za'atar, and it's just a spice, an Arab spice. So we've been taking like this Arabic cheese and some cucumbers and like some grapes and like pita bread and olive oil and za'atar, and just like you just kind of dip the bread into like the oil and then the za'atar and you take a bite and then you eat the cheese, and then so we've just been kind of like grazing on light things.
Yeah.
So in the summer, that's more my thing. Or if we are gonna cook, I'd prefer to grill, just because it's outside and it doesn't heat up the house.
Okay.
And it's easy cleanup.
So when I came to visit you, literally 10 years ago.
And it was like
It was in October.
Yeah,
it was right
because I
after
remember
your
the
oldest
weather.
birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the first night I was there, it was just you and me, and we literally all we did was you grilled green beans.
I make a great grilled bean.
Like literally just
Isn't that sad? Yeah.
I believe like you put some foil down and some like olive oil, salt, and pepper.
And a little bit of garlic powder.
Okay, is that what it was? Seriously, I have not been able to duplicate it. It does not taste the same when I try. And literally, that's all we ate. We just picked up like the beans and just ate.
And some asparagus, I think. We had some asparagus.
We did. You're right.
Because you and I love that. But yeah, I got a big bag of like the green beans that like grandma used to have where you had to clip off the edges, and snap off the edges. And then I wash them, obviously. And then I toss them in olive oil, salt, pepper, and garlic. And then I have a little like container that you use that has holes all over, and it's kind of like a strainer, but it's for the grill, and it allows the fire to get up in there, and then you toss it, but you got to get a good charl on it. You got to get like a good crisp on it.
Yes, and I think that's where I'm like,
because you can't do too much,
Yeah.
but you can't do too little.
Exactly, and I can never get that perfect char to it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But you also have to have the right seasoning because you can get the char, but if you don't have the right amount of seasoning, the char doesn't taste, because the char takes on if you have the right amount of seasoning with the olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get that. It's in there. And I let it sit for a little bit, so it kind of soaks up some of that flavor. But yeah, that's what we ate. You're right. Like I think we had some fruit.
We were gonna do like a piece of meat or whatever, and we're like, no, we'll be fine with just the vegetables. Like,
yeah, because the grocery store here in town has these big produce bags that was just like full of green beans.
Yeah.
So we just cooked them all up. Yeah.
So fucking good.
And the weather was really nice still.
Yeah.
So we could do it.
And I remember that while I was there on that trip, you and I sat on your front porch drinking wine, watching a storm roll in.
Yeah. And then like the fire truck showed up at the house down the street.
Yes, I do remember that. And we're like, what the hell? Yeah. And we ran down the street like in our pajamas, just trying to figure out what was going on. Yeah. That was fun. Fun times.
That was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's, I mean, so in the fall, summer, so in the fall, I'm really big on like casseroles, but I don't really make them a lot because my husband that is white people food.
Poor white people food.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I would prefer to do like casseroles in the fall, but really I do more of like your rices and your chickens and like your, you know, that kind of stuff. Like you got to have more of your potato and your meat.
Okay.
In the winter, I have gotten really, really good, and I can understand why Grandma's generation was able to get away with this. I have gotten really, really good at like just making soups, just like off the shit I have in the house.
Yep.
So I've gotten really good at that. So like, and I've actually found quite a few recipes that the kids and my husband just like absolutely adore. So I make a lot of soups. In the spring, I'm more sandwiches, veggies, you know, more that kind of stuff. So I would say fall, winter, spring is more stove, crock pot, instant pot, because I do have one of those. In the summer, it's more grill and air fryer.
Okay.
What about you?
In the summer, actually, because of how I was raised, obviously, we had vegetables at our disposal any given moment. So
because Grandma had a garden. Like
her property was 7/8 of an acre, so a good quarter of that was quarter of an acre of garden. So we did a lot of salads, and that's pretty much where I'm at in the summer.
I love a good salad.
Like I love a spinach strawberry salad with a nice little vinaigrette.
I feel like if you're going to do spinach, you have to throw some arugula in there because the spinach almost gets too squeaky. You need the arugula to give it some spice. Or kale even. Something to give it a little bit. I don't know. If it's all spinach, I don't know that I can do that. Now, if you throw it in with like a spring mix, kale or arugula, then absolutely.
And that's pretty much what I buy when I have to, since I have to go to the store to buy it. Because we don't grow anything right now. But yeah. That's going to be spinach, and then romaine lettuce is going to be two of the primary things that I will be eating all summer.
If I did not have growing boys, we would have a lot more salad. But because I have growing boys, we got to have a protein in there all the time, and a large amount of protein. Not for me, but for them.
See, and I put like a little bit of meat in my salads at times, like a little bit of grilled chicken. Yeah. And then,
but I could do one
cheese.
Chicken breast for me and my husband, and make a salad with that. But if I have even just one of the children, just one, I need to have at least 4 chicken breasts. One for me, one for my husband, and at least 2 for at least one teenage boy. Because that's just how much protein they eat. So when I have right. So when I have all 4 of them in the house, I mean, we're looking at 10 chicken breasts for
So you go
5
through
people?
a whole bag of like the pre-frozen chicken breast. Jesus Christ. No, absolutely not.
Every time. So if I did not have growing teenage boys, we would be doing a lot more salads. I can't do vegetables that are cooked because my husband is weird and does not like cooked vegetables unless it's asparagus and it's on the grill and it's like crispy, like almost burnt, but they also have to be the really thin asparagus. They can't be thick, which I
Okay.
prefer the thicker.
But you do realize that the best asparagus as far as ripeness wise is actually, so the tip of the asparagus and the base of the asparagus is the same diameter or close to the same diameter.
Yep.
So if it's all thin, that's fine. If it's all thick, that's fine. But if it's really skinny at the top and then really thick at the end, that's
No, it has to be the all skinny top to bottom.
Yeah.
That's the only way he'll eat it, and it has to be almost burnt. Otherwise, he is not a fan of any cooked vegetables and or fruit.
I understand
It's
the cooked fruit. I get it.
Cooked fruit as in no apple pie.
Okay, I mean,
No peach cobbler. No blackberry cobbler.
I call
no,
bullshit.
None of that.
I would never be able to do that, but I get that one a
Right?
little better than I get cooked vegetables. Because
You will not eat vegetables.
so does he eat raw vegetables?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's,
Depending on the vegetable.
that's
He
just
will
fucking
never
weird
touch
to
a
me.
tomato. He'll never touch a tomato cooked
Are you
or not
fucking kidding
cooked.
me?
Not kidding you. Like he hates tomatoes.
Tomatoes are one of those things that lately I have been on a massive kick for tomatoes, and I have been eating them on sandwiches. I will eat them like an apple.
Yep,
Oh my gosh.
He cannot stand tomatoes like at all. Tomatoes and onions. Like he will literally
No onions either?
No, he will literally check all of his food and will pick out anything that looks slightly close to a tomato or a pepper or an onion.
Absolutely not. No.
I
Like
know.
onions,
Cooked or not. Cooked
onions
or not,
go-
it does not matter.
no, onions go in everything. And see, onions, I prefer cooked. I don't like raw onions.
It depends on the onion and it depends on what you put it on.
That's
I
true.
can do a really good sweet Walla Walla on a burger.
Okay, but the Walla Wallas here are not good.
No, and the Vidalias, because we don't get Walla Wallas here, and if we do, they're very expensive. So we get Vidalias, which is equivalent to the Walla Walla.
It's close,
not the
but it's
same
not
thing.
quite.
Equivalent to these people.
They obviously don't
and
know
these
shit.
people, because they just don't know
Yeah.
the quality of a good sweet Walla Walla. But
Like, you don't know what you don't know.
right. So like I obviously, if it's not on a burger and it's not a good sweet Walla Walla, I would prefer cooked. But I don't mind. I love onion. I think it adds really good flavor. So
Mhm.
I have the dried chopped onion that I will put in things and cook, because then by the time I'm done cooking it, it disintegrates. My husband has no idea it's in it.
You little tricky devil.
Well, because I feel like I don't put a ton in it, so like all you taste is onion. Obviously, I'm not going to serve my husband, who doesn't like onions, French onion soup, but like if I'm making something that's like a chili or a soup or something, that's got a whole bunch of things in it, onion really does enhance the flavor.
This is true.
And he is super picky about that. So I do the chopped dried because it's small enough that once it gets like rehydrated and it starts to disintegrate, really all you get is, the flavor and not the actual onion. So,
I mean, that's fair. That's totally fair.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
So, what is your husband's most favorite thing you've ever cooked?
So it started out as homemade mac and cheese.
You make a good bomb
Yeah.
mac and cheese.
And I can actually switch up the cheeses here and there. Growing up, Grandma did a little bit of blue cheese, which gives it a good different taste. So it doesn't have
As
to
long
be
as you don't do too much.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It was just like a
yeah,
small
you do
sprinkling.
just enough for the tanginess.
Mhm. So I also
Yeah.
put minced garlic in it and a little bit of
Mm.
balsamic vinegar.
Because that's what you made for my boys. And the
Yes.
only thing that they weren't a fan of is that it wasn't as creamy, because I think we did more noodles than cheese. But that was when I was at that stupid parent meeting. At the high school.
Exactly. Had you been
So-
home and you could have provided me a better pan to make it in, I would have
Because
probably.
Lord knows my husband wouldn't have known where anything was.
Exactly. He did the best he could, but
Obviously.
but it has since changed. So there is something that I forced him to try at Aunt Sunday's house.
you were telling
Yes.
us about that a couple weeks ago.
Yes, and it's fried red cabbage. It is the easiest thing to make. It is
It's good.
It is literally just bacon, apple cider
Mhm.
vinegar, brown sugar, and red cabbage.
Now, I will say it's fucking fantastic, but you need to be really, really confident in your relationship with your partner because that shit'll make you fart all night long. And it is not good smelling fart. I'm just saying that, like, you have to be comfortable when you eat cabbage in general, but especially fried red cabbage. Like, that shit'll make your farts stink.
Yeah, but it's good stuff. And that
It's very good.
When we finally release our little cookbook that we're talking about, that one's going to be in there. And it's literally one of the simplest recipes, but it's yeah. And then he also every now and then in the summer requests the coleslaw that I make.
Oh, yeah. I will forever and for always request your pork chops and applesauce.
Which is,
like,
yeah. Yeah, he requests that in the fall.
Yeah, that's a great fall dinner.
Yep.
Because it's not heavy, but it's like the applesauce is just, oh my God, it is. You guys, Amy has to put that applesauce recipe in this cookbook.
It's so fucking easy,
I don't know
too.
what it is. I know it's easy. And that's the funny thing is that it's when you talk to people in your life that really enjoy something, it's usually the most simplistic thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about how many ingredients. I really, truly do believe that love has a lot to do with your recipes because, you know, Grandma didn't need to love everybody, but Grandma loved cooking.
Yeah.
And you could tell it in her food. If you don't necessarily love cooking, but you love the people you're cooking for, I feel like you can tell that in their food as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't necessarily have to love one or the other or both at the same time. I feel like Grandma wasn't, nothing against Grandma. Grandma wasn't a big lover of just anybody outside of her little circle in general. She was very guarded, but she loved to cook.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you could feel that and sense it in it. And I think you don't make pork chops and applesauce a lot, but when you do, you know that anybody you're serving it to is so ungodly happy and like excited that it makes you want to put more love and time and strength into it.
Absolutely.
And I really genuinely do believe that you can feel that in the food.
Oh, totally. Totally. And seriously.
Not just you, but like in general.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And when you so here's the other thing too, is when you have pork chops and applesauce, you have to have mashed potatoes and you have to have a green vegetable, generally broccoli.
Yes. And you have to have the gravy on your mashed potatoes that Amy makes from the drippings of the pork chops.
Which is really funny because I still haven't perfected it.
Doesn't matter. Every time it's fucking good.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I can't, I see why Grandma didn't have measurements for that. Because it really just depends on how much drippings you have.
Well, yeah, because depending on the cut of the pork chop you have will depend on what your fat rendering is.
Exactly.
So there's no way to measure that.
Exactly. And
unless you literally went to a butcher and was like, I need this amount of inches of fat on the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could maybe do it that way, but even then that would be completely and again, I mean, I think it has something to do with the pig. I mean, yeah, you can have the same amount of fat, but what has that pig been fed on? And I don't know that is gonna ever be something you could put in writing.
And Grandma, her gravy always tasted slightly different every time.
It never tasted the same.
No,
because I remember when you made it the last time you were here, it was a little bit starchy. So then we played around with it because we were like, fuck it, we're going to play. And then when it was really, really good. But at first it was a little starchy because the pork chops we had down here are just different than the pork chops that you were used to up in Washington.
Yeah. So I put a little more flour than necessary.
No, I think there was a lot of fat. And so you put a lot more flour in thinking you needed it. And we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just added, I think, some chicken stock or something or beef stock to it.
Milk.
Or whatever. I don't know. All I know is that we messed around or vegetable stock or whatever the hell it was.
It was milk.
Oh, milk. Okay, there you go.
It's literally you use the fat and then you brown the flour.
Oh yeah, milk and cornstarch and then just a couple extra seasonings depending on how much you need. I remember that.
Yep.
Yep. But anyway, so that's your husband's favorite is your
fried red cabbage?
Fried red cabbage.
Yep. Which is funny.
And how often would you say you make that?
I probably make it about 4 or 5 times a year.
Oh, that's it?
Yep, that's it.
Wow.
But when I make a whole head of cabbage,
Mm-hmm.
and we're done with it in one sitting because he eats so much of it.
But that's healthy for you, I think, because cabbage is actually really good for you.
Sure.
So is balsamic vinegar.
It's apple cider on that one. Apple cider vinegar. Which obviously is good.
Vinegar is good for you too. So.
And if you're gonna have if you're gonna have sugar in something, it better be brown sugar because brown sugar is better than white sugar.
Because it's not bleached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. The worst thing for you, and that is the bacon.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so out of all the things you know how to cook, what is your favorite thing to cook?
Cookies.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like that one is probably has something to do with the like emotional attachment to it, and like what I think of when I make it.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
Yeah. What about you?
What about me? What?
Both of those questions.
So I don't know that my husband has ever asked me to cook anything except for, I take that back. On his birthday, he asked me to cook. I honestly can't even remember now what it was, but I was like, what do you want me to make for dinner? Like, you know, I usually let the kids, okay, so for birthdays, we usually will like, I'll make them a dinner.
Yeah.
And then we'll usually go out for dinner, depending on what they want me to make for dinner.
Yeah.
Because my oldest loves himself some crab legs, and so I'm not gonna buy crab legs and make them at home and take them out to dinner. But my husband asked me to make something this year, and I honestly don't. I think it was that chicken and rice recipe that I shared with you, with cream cheese, Parmesan, paprika, basil, oregano, garlic salt, all that kind of stuff, and like over rice, and because I hadn't made it in a while. If you ask, it's probably going to be the chicken and rice or my Alfredo, because I make a bomb-ass homemade Alfredo.
Yeah, both of your kids have actually said their favorite thing, to me at least, their favorite thing of yours is the Alfredo.
Yeah, because when you were here, or since you probably talked to him about it, I hadn't made the chicken or rice yet. So Elle's choice, because I even asked him that a couple weeks ago, like, what's your favorite thing I cook? And it was a 3-way tie between the chicken and rice, and then I make a white chicken chili, and it's a homemade white chicken chili, and honestly, it's one of those ones that it changes almost every time because I don't always have everything. So sometimes I have cream cheese, sometimes I have heavy whipping cream.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So like I mix it up. And then my Alfredo. Now the Alfredo is contingent on, it's a very heavy, rich food, so they are not a super huge fan of eating that in the summer, which I get. Because it is a very rich, very heavy one. And 2, because it's so rich and heavy, they can't eat hardly as much as they normally would, because it does have a tendency to be a little heavy in their tummy. So they love the flavor. They just can't eat much of it, which is fine. I mean, Alfredo is not meant to be eaten in the amount that teenage boys eat.
Yeah.
So like so between my chicken and rice and my Alfredo and the white chicken chili is probably what, between the 3 that I have kind of made up and done on my own, that everybody is like loves. It doesn't matter. But then there's also, I could make breakfast and they will all just be pigs and shit. And that's not hard. That's eggs and bacon and pancakes. Like, there's no recipe for that.
I have to admit, my pancakes fucking suck.
Okay, so I just use the basic box, but every once in a while I like to throw some cinnamon in my pancakes.
It's okay, but it's not the flavor of my pancakes that sucks. It's the texture, because like the outside will look right. It'll be the right color and everything, and the inside still is kind of doughy. And
okay, so you have your temperature on too high, because it means it's getting the outside cooked too fast. So you need to turn the temperature down.
Okay, but like, I have it the same temperature Grandma cooked them at. So I don't fucking know.
But are you doing them on the stove or on a griddle?
It's like a griddle.
Okay. And did Grandma have gas or electric?
Well, she had an electric griddle.
And do you have gas or electric?
It's an electric griddle.
Okay.
It's just a tiny thing.
Okay, so I'm wondering if maybe, because Grandma used to do it. Didn't she used to do it in like her like cast iron pan or whatever?
Not pancakes. Pancakes, she actually had the electric griddle.
I don't know. Try it, but I like to put cinnamon in mine, and my husband will take a bite. First of all, he does not eat pancakes in a stack with syrup or butter. He literally eats them, pulls them apart, and eats them like it's bread.
Okay.
So there's your first thing. Second of all, he will literally take a bite, and within seconds he'll be like, because he can tell there's cinnamon in it.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Here's my thing. There is fucking cinnamon or nutmeg or cloves or allspice in almost every motherfucking Arab dish that exists.
Okay.
And the little bit of cinnamon I put in a pancake and you don't like that?
Yeah, that's unacceptable. Absolutely
right?
not. No.
That's what I told him. I was like, dude, I'm not even putting that much in. I'm putting like a dash and like a little bit. And
across the whole
like,
thing.
Yeah. Like, I'll put a little bit in and I'll make anywhere between like 10 and 20 pancakes, give or take how many kids we have. Because if we have all 5 of us there, that's only 20 pancakes is only what 4 a piece, which I usually don't eat that, but the kids do. And then there's usually 1 or 2 left over because we have to share with crackhead Coda.
Of course.
But I do not put cinnamon in it 99.9% of the time because my husband will refuse to eat the pancakes if there's just the slightest bit of cinnamon.
Even if he doesn't even see you making it.
Correct. The other time he wasn't even home. I was making it all and I was like, okay. He literally, like, we sat down, I had it all, like, so I use my griddle, and I make the pancakes first, and then I have a warming option on my stove, where I can put them on a plate, and I put some, like, nonstick or whatever, and I put it in the warming part of the stove, and then I'll make the bacon, and then I'll make the eggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the pancakes are made first, before he even gets home. I was making the eggs when he got home. So I'd already made the bacon was sitting in the warming part of the stove too. And then I usually will like make the eggs, not to order, because I'll either do like all scrambled or all fried eggs, but I'll do them on the griddle in the bacon grease.
Yeah, of course.
I usually
like the
scrape
only way to do it.
99% of it off, but a little bit left on there. And I am not shitting you. So we got to the table, we got home and Elle had just started setting the table, and he came home and like he was like, okay, and I was like, go sit down, dinner's ready or whatever. And so like I pulled the stuff out of the oven, put it on a hot pad on the table, and he took a bite of it and he was like, oh my God. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it's just a little bit of like cinnamon. I am not kidding you. He was not home when I made it. None of the seasonings were out. He would not have known. The bowl was rinsed already from the pancake stuff, like batter. Like he wouldn't have known. And he still took a bite. And was like, made this face like, ew, that's gross. But they make that rice that you had at my wedding that's called a bouli, where it has like the beef and like that is made with allspice and cloves. And I think there's some cinnamon in it and some nutmeg.
Yeah.
So we can eat rice with that shit, but we can't eat a fucking pancake?
No. Then what's your favorite thing to make?
It depends.
On what?
My mood.
That's fair.
No, so like I'm super excited. Ooh, sorry. I hit the microphone. Super excited because we have 4 tomato plants growing. And I have 1 zucchini plant that's doing really freaking amazing. And then I have 4 cucumber plants. And like I am so excited to find all the different recipes that I can utilize my fresh tomatoes and zucchini and cucumber.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also attempting to do onions and carrots. I don't know if they're gonna take.
What kind of
onions? So it really
onions?
just depends. Well, just a regular onion, just like a white onion.
Oh, okay.
I
wasn't sure if you were talking like green onions.
No. I did that 1 year, but I'm the only person in the house that really cares for onions. But so I found a couple recipes online where you can take some onions and dry them out and make like an onion powder.
Okay.
And so I think that's what I'm going to do with it if I get any onions, because I honestly don't think they'll be very big, even if I do get on onions. So like I'm just more or less trying to find a way to like, and onion powder, they don't fucking know when that shit's in there. So it depends on my mood, because sometimes I get like a hair at my ass and I'm all about trying new things. And other times I try to find new recipes that I enjoy making so that every time I make dinner, I'm enjoying myself regardless of whether it's one specific dish or not. I am going to say, though, that in the summer, I do get a little more excited because I do have more options, because I do grow some things, or at least attempt.
Yeah.
to grow some things, which can really like affect what I'm making. And then in that sense, I'm having more fun because I'm being more creative.
Of course.
But honestly, I think everything that I make is one of my favorites. And I know this is going to be so cliche and like so dumb and stupid, but like I love that I have such willing children and a husband. They'll try anything. There's been a couple of things I've made where they were like, I mean, they ate it, but they weren't fans, you know, but they make me feel comfortable to be able to try new things, but they're honest enough with me and they know that it's not going to hurt my feelings. So pretty much everything I make for them, I enjoy making because I know how much they love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's getting to the point now where I purposely try to make things that I know not everybody is necessarily 100% fan of, just so I have leftovers for lunch the next day, because I hardly have leftovers.
Well, I mean, that's got to tell you that it's good.
Well, yeah. That's why I enjoy making it, because I know that they enjoy it and it's not going to go to waste. But when I'm trying to like meal plan and stuff, I will purposely make more of something. But if it's something they like, if I purposely make more, they just see that as a invitation to keep dishing up seconds and thirds and fourths, which again, I'm not mad about. But like, what am I supposed to say? Don't eat all that. I'm supposed to take that to lunch tomorrow. I can make a sandwich. I can take something else. I would just like to have leftovers.
Yeah. You would think that with it being just my husband and I, that we'd have leftovers when I make a 9x13 of something.
Well, yeah, you would think.
You would think, but no. He, especially mac and cheese, I will take like a small little amount and then he will pretty much eat the rest of it. If not right then, a couple hours later, he'll reheat some and then have some more and then it'll be gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. We made this really, really, really good red curry chicken the other day and we had leftovers with some rice, and like the next couple of days later we had made a couple other things, and like we usually do one night a week where we have leftovers because we have leftovers throughout the week, so you can choose depending on what, you know, is there.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh yeah, we have like, I had made this, I make a garlic butter noodle pasta with like some cayenne pepper, and I had thrown some shrimp in it, so we had that, and we're like, oh yeah, we have the red curry chicken and we have this, and we opened it up, and like, I'm not lying, the red curry chicken was like the biggest thing we had in leftovers. It was gone. We don't even know where it went. Like it was there one day and like the next day it was gone. We didn't even see the container. Like we don't know where it went. Somebody had to have eaten it in the middle of the night, because it was there one night when we were like because we were getting dinner ready, and I was like, oh yeah, it's still in the freezer or fridge from last night or whatever, and then we got home and it was not there. So
is there anything that you purposely make when nobody's home and then you can throw it in the freezer?
Casseroles. Not when nobody's home, when my husband's not home.
Yeah. So I will make a big ass fucking pot of chicken noodle soup and then throw it in the freezer, because when I'm sick, I'm not making it, but I want it.
I have yet to find the right ratio of fluid to pasta, because if I make it, like if I make chicken noodle soup, it's really good the day of, but then like reheated, like the noodles soaked up even more of the broth, so there's no broth in it. So like I'm struggling to find the ratio of cooked pasta to fluid so that when you reheat it, there's still fluid.
Okay. Next time I make it, I'll have to take stock of how much I'm using.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know, because
I make a fantastic chicken noodle soup. It's just not good leftover. It may as well be just like chicken and mush.
Yeah.
You know, vegetables and mush. And it's like, God, I could make like a chicken and dumplings at that point, you know, and just add pasta to the thing we wanted to be chicken noodle soup, and then throw dumplings on it and reheat it the next day. So like, yeah, if you have that, because the flavor is fantastic. And I've used those egg noodles. I have used regular noodles. I've used those frozen noodles that people talk about, like the Reese's or Reese's or whatever that brand is called. Nothing. I do. It soaks up all of the fluid, and then it turns, or if it doesn't soak up all the fluid, it turns super cloudy. So there's no broth.
Interesting.
It's like, it becomes very starchy.
Well, I am going to preface all of that with just telling you flat out, I use egg noodles. So
I started using those Reese's or whatever it's called, the frozen noodles, because everybody swore by them. And I couldn't make it work. So I was like, okay, well, egg noodles. But I boil the egg noodles ahead of time. So that, because I've tried putting them in the soup and all they do is soak up all the fluid. And again, there's no fluid. So I'm like, am I supposed to put in like 120 ounces of fluid for one bag of egg noodles? That's a lot of fluid, man.
I wouldn't
a lot of...
be surprised if that's how much I make.
Okay,
because
well, then tell me, because I've used like
pot is 3
huge. Of the chicken broths, and that's not enough.
So I also don't use like chicken broth. I make like the chicken stock.
Maybe that's what the problem is I'm using maybe not the right, maybe, I don't know.
And maybe because chicken broth already has some salt in it.
Maybe.
So
I just know that it's really good the day of, but it is not something that's good left over.
Yeah.
You could add more chicken broth to it or bone broth to it, but it's still mushy noodles, and that's gross.
Yeah. So the other thing you could do is also rice instead of noodles.
I've thought about that, but with the pasta, it seemed to continue to keep soaking in fluid even when it seemed like it was completely taken in. So I was like, well, God, if rice does that, what is it going to turn into? Like a big ball? You know, like, I don't know. I've thought about doing rice. Yeah, like a wild rice, because that would be really good. But yeah.
Which, speaking of rice, I need to get a rice strainer so that when I wash my rice, it doesn't go through the strainer that I have.
Yes. I have yet to find a strainer that has small enough holes where I can rinse my rice.
I have found
one.
I've
been doing
it's on Amazon.
Oh, okay. Well, then send me the link.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Send me the link. Lately, I use mostly just minute rice because, again, I am cooking for 4 teenage boys and we go for quick and efficient.
See, I have my rice cooker.
I love my rice cooker too, but I just usually by the time I get home and everybody's ready to, like, you know, I just don't have time for that. So I do the minute rice. It's just easier, cheaper. But when it's just gonna be me and my husband, it's definitely gonna be more of your basmati rice, your wild rice, the Arab rice that they get, sushi rice, all that kind of stuff.
You do know
in a rice cooker.
You do know that sushi rice you can actually make with your basic rices and then just add
Yes, I've heard. Yeah. You can like sugar and water or something like that.
I want to say it's rice vinegar.
Rice vinegar and sugar. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've heard about it. I have not tried it.
I haven't either. However, I've been like
pinning
like the sushi recipes since you got me that sushi maker.
Okay, and I have a sushi maker too that's still in the box. So maybe we should try it together while we're up there.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
All right.
So, we're gonna call it a night. You guys, send us your thoughts and opinions on like what's your favorite thing to cook, or maybe something that's a really significant recipe in your life that either you grew up on or your grandma made, or something that just kind of, you know, means a lot to you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's kind of where, like I said, back to you can feel the love in people's cooking, you know, like we want to hear all those things. I did not have a great relationship with my grandma, but I think we're ever going to be connected with her peanut brittle.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of awesome that that's like my connection with her. So
Absolutely.
I would love to hear everybody else's, you know, feelings and connections to the food they grew up on.
Heck yeah. And shoot those notes to us via email if you want. Ginny and Amy podcast at gmail.com. Sorry. Brain fart. That's GINNYANDAMY podcast at gmail.com.
You can also find us on Instagram at Bitch and Siblings Podcast. Give us those 5-star reviews, guys.
And then don't forget to call or text us with those notes as well. And that number is 785-538-9128. 785-538-9128.
Leave your name in those messages. Even if we don't play them online, or if we do play them, we'll bleep out your name. But we've had a couple that are coming through that we have no clue where they're coming from. So we don't know if they're aimed at us or not.
Yes.
So give us your names, peoples.
Bye,
all right, guys. Have a great night.